Oh, there we go. Right, we're live. Just going to put this blanket on because it's absolutely freezing, like an old lady. All right. So, yeah. Now, let's just sort that out. Oh, fucking hell. How do I tighten it up? Cannot tell whether so. Yeah, looks like we're live. Don't know how long it takes for someone to come on, but you know, small channel, so it'll probably take a while. I wonder whether I should just wait. No, because lives actually, I think they get recorded and put on the channel, so I don't mind repeating myself, but yeah, it's a little bit cold today. I don't know if this is actually, yeah, it looks like it's taking the audio. So yeah, just trying something new. A friend of mine said, noticed that one of his friends was doing like literally a live every day, just a raw one like this. And he ended up getting loads out of it, you know. So, and one of the benefits of doing a live like this is you don't have to rehearse for anything. Now, really, I when I do my videos, I generally don't rehearse that much. The reason being is my videos are all about just basically things that I read and everyday life experiences. So all I do is when I read something in a book, like I'm just reading Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's absolutely fat. I've only just started reading it, so it took me a while. But when you find something, when I read, I always underline it. And if it's, you know, a good topic or something, I just create it in a little index and then I add it to my list of video ideas just on my phone. And then I create a video idea. And because I generally read always non-fiction, and it's like always the same stuff, almost like psychology. Because I think that I was listening to something earlier where the person that was talking to one of the big podcasters, Chris Williamson. I can't remember who the guest was, but the guest was saying you want to be learning what Charlie Munger says to learn, like learn psychology and learn things like communication and relationships and things, and then that can apply to pretty much everywhere in life. So I tend to read all the same sort of topic. It's all non-fiction, psychology, productivity, that kind of thing. So you find a lot of the same ideas in the books. Apologies. I did a little outtakes video, I think I released behind the scenes, and it was about this damn drain here. It's just from the washing machine. Anyway, back to when you read the same type of books over and over again, you tend to generate really good ideas. And also was discussed on this podcast was about the power of learning the same, and I believe this, like learning the same lessons twice or reading the same lessons in different books. So if you read, obviously read wide, but you want to read similar concepts from a wide range of authors, and then you get a really good rounded view of that particular topic. And one of the benefits of doing that, it's a bit like creating YouTube videos. If you niche down, you don't want to niche too far, but you know, it wants to be applicable to a wide variety of people. But if you niche down, you end up getting quite a lot of knowledge, right? And having that, you know, if you read the same topic over and over again, this is where you get some really good mental models and ideas. And this is how I get my video ideas. It's just from reading and just everyday life. And what I do is what I read in books, I put into practice in real life and then measure it. And like, obviously, one of the most important things I do is journaling, right? And I guess I'm going to talk a bit about journaling because I know I do, but this one's obviously unrehearsed. So, why do I journal, right? Journaling is my way of documenting what you do on a day-to-day basis. So it's almost like the most accurate way of documenting your what you do. And if you treat, I don't know, if you treat life almost like seriously, I mean, don't take yourself too seriously, but if you treat life seriously and you've got the vision for yourself and you want to achieve things, then keeping a record of it is mega, because, you know, once you finish a journal 6 months down the line, you can then read it back and measure progress, you know. So I've got mine here, which this is a new one. So I started this one in, hang on, let's get the first date. When was it? Here we go, 14th of the 9th, this one. Right, and obviously we're up to today. What is it, 27th today? I've just done that this morning there, so I've sort of set my intentions for the day. But even if I was to read back them, you know, 3 months there, I can see when you read back, you can measure backwards and read back progress. So I can see here, what was I doing on that day? Well, this one here, 14th of the 9th, I can see here that one of the things that I was doing was writing my journal. So I'm creating my own journal. So this is about editing it and authoring it, and I got some help at that point. And if you're measuring kind of goal achievement, this is an example. So here, I can go through here. I can literally read back every time I did some more. And I've got my business here as well. I can measure backwards and see all of the progress, you know, all the way back. So what journaling is about, it's the most accurate reflection of what you do on a day-to-day basis. So if you think about the minute detail, this is not a lot, these are just bullet points, but it's a summary of everything you did that day. And if you always think back, like let's say you go, you think back to what you did last year, it's quite hard. Like your memories can sometimes be quite vivid, almost like images, you know. Rather, you don't store the full detail of the day in your head. You store images, and it might be, you know, you're never going to remember every single day. But with a journal, you can remember every single day. You can go back over it. You can see exactly what you did at that point, right? And it's absolutely fantastic that way. So you get it's the most accurate way to capture all the things that you did that day in the moment, right? So that's why it's super important. So if you're bothered about continuous improvement, this is a must-have tool, is a journal, right? The other thing that you do, right, if you think about journaling properly, you should do morning and night, right? And in my journal, it's going to be ready in a few weeks, just being printed. I call it intent. The morning part is what I call intent, because it's about setting the day's intentions, right? And then the night routine is I called it account, because it's like you're taking account for the day. So if you think, first thing you do when you wake up, right, you should set intentions for the day. And this is more applicable, obviously, holidays, so you're not going to have any strict routine here. At the minute, you might be taking time off work and things like that, that's fine. So your intentions might be to relax, to reflect, and to do more things like reading, spend time with family. But when you're in a normal week and you've got a lot of things to do, and you know, you might have all sorts, you might have work that you've got to go to, or a project that you've got to do, you might have to do something for family, you might have to go training or whatever. That's where you set the intentions in the morning. And with a journal, the other good thing that you always have is a bit of gratitude, and gratitude's really important because being grateful for what you already have is a really good thing, right? So rather than, and this is a bit like what Dan Sullivan says in his book, The Gap and the Gain. If you're always in the gap, like you're wanting something, right? When you're not grateful for everything that you have, it's almost like, oh, I wish I'd have this, and I wish I'd have, like, I don't know, the perfect relationship, or I wish I'd have that nice car, or whatever, or, you know, something that you want. That you're in the want there, and like I'm not a big fan of things like the law of attraction, right? Because to me, it's I think it can be simplified from all the kind of, you know, you don't just manifest £1 million, right? That's crazy. But I think you can sort of simplify it into like karma actions. And if you're not grateful for what you already have and you want something, you're in the gap there, you're in the want, and it's quite bad. It's like almost like a desperation, like, you know, I must have this, I will only feel good when I have this thing. A better way of doing it is just being grateful for what you already have and measuring backwards instead of measuring forwards what you don't have. Measure progress backwards, and that is a much more fulfilling way to do it. So journal, create some gratitude. Just be happy to be outside. I always sit outside me. I've got this like little, got this blanket on because it's freezing, like a little granny, and my gloves on. But I always sit out here doing my journal, reading and enjoying a bit of fresh, as long as it's not raining. It's a bit cold, but I don't care. It's actually a really nice thing to do. So I'm always grateful for that. Sat out here, the birds are tweeting, there's little squirrels running around, and you know, you see a bit of nature. I could probably turn it around. There's not much round back of me really, to be honest. You just see there now, it's just like, just over the back there, it's just a big dip, and there's basically just like wilderness trees and things. So I just sit out here, you know, with nature, and I'm grateful for that. So that's about setting gratitude. The next part is I always use a journal to explain to my goals, you know. Even now, holiday period, I've still got goals. They might be more around family. You know, I've always got goals around family because, you know, improving relationships and things with family. So I set intentions around that. And then there's always a bit of, sometimes in journals, you do a bit of affirmations, like, and this is like state management. And if you think about setting intentions in the morning, state management's pretty important because, you know, a lot of the big success leaders, even people like Tony Robbins, he calls it, like, you know, priming, doesn't he? State management is always about priming your state in the morning. You're more likely to get things done and be motivated and achieve things if you're in a good, positive state, because you can almost, like, this is back to, like I said, I don't do law of attraction, but you can manifest your own reality just by thinking about it in a positive way. So having that, I did a video on it. Oh, what's this? Oh, I'll answer that in a sec. You got help on editing it? Ah, right, okay. So Samuel just asked, you mentioned you got help on editing it. What was this help? So a friend of mine, Samuel, is a professional editor, you know, in marketing, professional editor. So when I was writing my journal, in the first part of it is like all the instructions. It's like a book. Quite a lot of it is everything that I talk about on my channel about goal achievement. And what I've done is I've distilled down everything that I explain into a system, and I've put that in the journal. Now, I'm not a writer, right? When I was studying, going back to school, I was more of a, let's say, an engineer, a problem solver, mathematics, geometry, that kind of thing. So I was a designer. English and writing and things was not my, I might have even been a bit dyslexic at the time. It just was not my strength. I did do well in my English exams just because I worked hard. But having perfect English is not my thing. So a friend of mine, Nikki, is absolutely brilliant at language. And she's professional in this. So she helped me edit it, and between us we got like what I think is very good language. So that's the kind of editing. I also used a professional designer to help lay it out, so the graphics, and also because I want everything to be super high quality, because if it's got your name on it, I believe that you should try and make it as good quality as you can. Obviously all that stuff costs money, but all I'm doing is leveraging what I've got. So I've got a business, so I'm just leveraging the resources that I've already got. And this is, more like continuous improvement. When you start off with anything, whatever your goals are, you're literally just hacking away. And I did a video on Christmas Day just a couple of days ago, where I explained there, I've not got it with me, but in Rob Moore's book, Life Leverage, where he talks about not giving up on your goals, and the longer you stay on your goals and on your mission, the more likely it is to succeed. And a lot of people give up too early, and I don't know what it is with me. I've just never been the sort of person to give up on anything. I find it really hard to give up on anything. Maybe that's somewhere I have to improve, when to give up. I just don't know when to quit, and I'll just grind through. And what Rob was saying is a lot of people give up, when they're not getting results, because things just take longer than we expect. And I explained there that, like, he has his term, most of the work at the start, when you're on a project or a business or anything, whatever your goals are, most of the work for the least amount of reward, like the least results, is at the start. And the longer you stay in, that kind of flips. So once you start getting results, you end up getting most of the results for the least amount of work. So what that means is at the very start of anything, you have to put a lot of anything that's worth anything of value will generally, if you think about hard things, they generally involve a lot of upfront investment in your time and efforts and resources, and you get paid later. So you're putting all the work up front and you get nothing for it, and then eventually it flips where you get everything for very little work. And that's what I did with my business. It was like I was explaining in the video, it was really, really hard at the start, setting up, just working around the clock, all hours and all the rest of it. And then eventually things start to turn, you start getting some results, and then it's not so much work to get the results, right? And once, I believe this is what I did with the journal. So once you get somewhere with any project or any business, right, rather than squandering that, right, those results, you ought to leverage it to get more. So when I created the journal, so I've created a new business for it as well, and there'll be other products and things, because it's my way of what I want to do is just share what I've learned and help other people through these products. And I used all the resources that I've got from my current business, or a lot of them, to help. And all the knowledge that I'd learned there in terms of marketing and everything and setting up the mechanics of it, creating content to actually create the new product. So it's a lot easier. So once you get somewhere with something, you may have had this yourself, it's easier the next time round. Sometimes we have to go through life making errors, slipping up, whatever, you know. And that's fine, that's just part of learning. And if you stay in, the compound effect gets greater and greater the longer that you stay in. Just a couple of tips on, like, you know, when you're creating business and things. Sometimes you've got to know, if it's not working, you've got to know what to do. It's not always, you know, you might say never quit. Sometimes you have to quit if it's completely wrong, right? If it's not just the wrong vision. But what you have to do is you have to just pivot, right? And you make little pivots and you find your path. It's like in the book, Maxwell Maltz's book, Psycho-Cybernetics, one of the best books ever written. And if you need to start somewhere, start there, Psycho-Cybernetics. He talks about, Maxwell Maltz talks about creating a goal, right? And a goal really should be on the horizon, just plonk it down out there. And then you just aim at it and you don't really worry about the exact, because what you do is you just aim at it, right? And as you start moving towards it bit by bit each day, if you go off track slightly, you just pivot, you just go back and you just keep trying new things until you get there. And eventually you will. Now this is a bit of a paradox because I believe you should plan as much as you can up front. So everything that you can control, you should set some intentions about. That's why a journal, right? You set some intentions and you create a plan. And that's why in my journal, I've created a goals section at the start before you start journaling. So you've got something to aim at, you know what I mean? Because a lot of these journals, these are like gratitude journals. I use them for goal achievement, but that's not what they're designed to do. They're really designed to improve your mental health and gratitude. Whereas I believe you need to do both. You need gratitude, but you also need to work towards something meaningful, like your goals. So in my journal, I've put in the very front, creating your identity and also setting the goals. Got another question. Which book? Which was it? The Psycho-Cybernetics, Samuel, or was it Life Leverage? If it's Psycho-Cybernetics, yes, 100%. It's one of the, I think it's like, it was written in like 1960, so it's over 60 years old, and it's such an important book on achievement and psychology. It's like one of the original books. So Psycho-Cybernetics is still applicable today, and it's one of them really it's not an easy book to read, but it's a simple concept once you get it down. And it's based on continuous improvement and aiming at a target. So you can set your target for anything in terms of your goals. It can be anything, you know. It's like what I use, I've got like this thing called the Life Harmony model. I'm going to have a download so you can create a vision board with it from my website. It's just nearly getting ready, and I'll be sharing some links. But there's 7 areas of life, and you can create a goal in any of them areas, right? So the idea with, you know, like Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz, you just plonk down your goal and then you work towards it. And as you get nearer, you know, if you start veering off, this is where you just pivot in your strategy. And I suppose the other thing is, when you reach it, so your goals want to be ambitious enough. They don't want to be they've got to be doable. You know, they've got to be achievable, but they don't want to be too ambitious. You know what I mean? If you're going to say, I don't know, like something crazy like, I'm going to build a rocket tomorrow, I'm going to fly to the moon, that's not achievable. So it's got to be something that's achievable, but it wants to be far enough away so it challenges you. And as you move closer to it, if you're about to reach that, what do? You move the goalpost back. Example, I want to earn £50,000 or $50,000 in 6 months, right? Plonk it down. Let's say you get there in 6 months, maybe it takes you 7 months or whatever, or maybe even 5. As you get nearer to it, move it back, make it 100,000 or 200,000. So this is just an example of keep moving the goalpost back, because there's no point achieving that goal and then stopping, because then if you stop, you'll just regress. You need to keep moving. Prior to journaling, is there anything you were previously doing to remain focused on your goals and being accountable? Okay, so I was on a podcast, my mate's podcast. It's called The Broke Architect. Actually, if you go on my Instagram, you could probably, down in the feeds, you'll probably find a link to it. But if you go on Spotify and search for The Broke Architect, and then I can't remember what episode, but I was on there, and so I used to be in architecture, building design, right, before I started the business. And I'd always worked really hard, career, and always developed good skills. And so journaling is a new thing for me. I've only been doing it about 5 years, right? But I've always been into kind of goal achievement and self-help. I just didn't have any decent models. All I was doing throughout all my whole career, and then starting the business is like, my main business will be 12 years old at the end of Jan. So what did I used to do before was journaling? I just used to work really hard. I was like a busy fool running around, and I've just got so much resilience. I never get stressed at all. There's nothing that can make me stressed. And I just have so much resilience that I just worked hard and hard. So I kind of got by setting up that business just through hard work. And I've always been an ideas guy. So I come up with ideas, but it wasn't really, you could say that I laid all the foundations and the upfront work for it in the early days, but it wasn't really going anywhere. And then I made some like really, really catastrophic errors in what I was doing in the business, financially, some poor business decisions a few years ago, maybe 6 years ago now. And I nearly lost it. It was flipping going, right? So I used to just work hard, right? And I made some errors because I didn't really have any strategy. I was just kind of like winging it. I read a few business books, read some Tim Ferriss, all that kind of thing. But I didn't really know what I was doing. It was just my skills that were carrying me. And then about 6 years ago, everything went wrong, and I nearly lost it. I had to take a really sort of risky kind of loan shark loan out, to get rid of the whole team, like make everyone redundant, pay them all off. You have to pay redundancy. I was literally broke. I sold all whatever I had, shares, put it into the business, took a big risky loan, kept it afloat on nothing. And then after about a year, a lot went wrong in my life at that point. And I remember saying to Gary, who's like my business partner, I said at the time, just take care of things. I just need a bit of time off, and I didn't really work much for about a year. And then after that, I got some help with a coach. Tried a few coaches, lots of money, spent a lot of money on it. Different coaches, per hour. They're very expensive. And eventually, I found a really good coach who was actually an ex-hostage negotiator, and he's a famous author now. And he helped me for about 2-3 years. And he just taught me everything about productivity, systems, and we went through this. Now, when you get a good coach, they don't literally tell you what to do. They're more helping you, because you've got to define your own. Everyone works differently. Like, I like journaling, and people will use a journal in different ways for different goals, whether it's personal goals, whether it's spirituality, family, whatever, or business goals. It's up to everyone. So everyone's different. And a good coach will not tell you directly they'll encourage you to develop your own system. And that's what we did. And I was kind of moving between all these different systems. I was using a bit of Tony Robbins, the RPM system, which I was using. And then I stumbled upon journaling through listening to Tim Ferriss, who's one of the, someone that I highly respect. Great author, and I've learned so much from reading Tim Ferriss and listening to Tim Ferriss. So I got into journaling, and I started to use a journal in a very different way to what is said inside the way that they explain how you use a journal. I connected it to my goal achievement, and it was quite unique. So I started using the journal as a summary record and setting intentions for my goals, when really they're supposed to be, if you look at journals in the journal market, they're either a gratitude journal or a business planner, right? There isn't really one that mixes both together, and that's what I've done with mine because I was using it that way. And I then, once I started getting results, after about 2 years, everything turned around, and I started getting huge results in all over my life, like everywhere, particularly the business and everything else. And I was getting projects like I never got before, and all it was just doing this same thing every day, setting 3 things that I need to do. And they're like, if you ask yourself, what are the top 3 things that I need to do today? You might do 20 things in a day, but make sure you do them 3 important things. And if you just do that every day, right, and they don't even have to be big things, they're just things that are needle movers, moving you towards your goals. And if you just do them every day, you would not believe the compound effect that happens after like 6 months, 12 months. So you can imagine 2 years in, and I'm doing this, flipping it, doing everything, like whatever I want. It was literally everything, like my fitness, my business, absolutely, things with family, brilliant, everything all over. And so I started to achieve a lot, and then like I started to influence others, like my brother and things, and then the next thing I was helping others, and it became difficult to kind of explain how I actually do this, using all these different, I was using all these different products, and I was only using parts of each, so only a little bit of RPM, only a little bit of the journal, and I was using the journal in a different way, different books. So I just decided to distill it down into a really simple system. So to answer your question, before journaling, I was kind of all over the place. I'm not saying journaling's a panacea or anything, right? It's just my way of, because what I do is I'll write down my intentions in the morning, set your intentions, write them down, and then it's my way. I think when you write down on paper, if you commit to paper what you want to do, you're more likely to do it. I don't know what it is, just the act of, I used to use a digital journal, even one of these ones that you could just speak to and it would just transcribe. And it's nowhere near as effective. I think the act of writing it down with a pen on paper really commits it to memory. And if you just use a journal in that way, you can literally just say, today I'm going to do this. And then you do it. And then at the end of the day, you just measure. You say, have I done what I said I was going to do? So before that, I didn't really have, it was just like hard work. I had a general direction, but I wasn't really super focused, if you know what I mean. So imagine what the journal's done. It's really tightened up my focus on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, hopefully that sort of answers your question. So yeah, that's why I like journaling. Let's have a look. Honestly, you've hit the nail on the head on a number of points. I strive by working through the chaos. Being accountable to goals and measurable. Just working through chaos. I'm really trying. Yeah. So being accountable. Yeah, one of the hardest things to do, Samuel, is to maintain consistency. Um, if you think about it, anyone, right? This is the difference, right? This is why compounding is important. Anyone can say, it's like the New Year's resolution thing, you know. What's everyone's New Year's resolution? To get fit, right? Um, go to the gym, lose some weight, right? Anyone can go in the gym in January, sign up, and do a week or two, and then jack it in, right? And it's the same for anything. So if you think about your focus, right? Anyone can start, right? Today I'm going to start, or tomorrow or whatever, I'm going to start focusing, and you can do it. And the key is when it's done consistently. So anything, and this is why journaling is really good, because if you start journaling, it becomes a habit, right? And the best thing to do is form a habit, and that's how you maintain consistency. So think about the habit of journaling every day, working towards your goals, little bit, and the key is not to do too much, because James Clear's book Atomic Habits, right? He talks in there about, you know, if you're not used to, if you're just starting a new habit and you're not used to sort of working in a particular way, if you say, try and do too much in one day, today I'm going to work 13 hours on this, you're going to burn yourself out, and you're not likely to keep that up day to day. So it's always, this is why when you build a habit, you always do small things bit by bit, and you know, something done in small chunks at a sort of mediocre level consistently over time will beat something done in a huge chunk in one month. You'll get far more results being consistent over time than you will trying to do everything in 1 week, say, right? And you know, the idea that cramming, as they call it, like people cramming study and things like that, you, you're going to get more results if you form a habit and do it, and make a life change. Do it for life, right? So how do you form a habit? Well, you've got to push through. You've got to make it a habit, and you've got to keep practicing that habit every day. And there's a point where, because it's new to you, if it's a new habit, it's uncomfortable, and you have to sort of tell yourself and understand that it's uncomfortable, and you've got to kind of push through. So keeping yourself accountable, that's why journaling keeps you accountable, because you're gonna, at the night when you take account for your day, you can correct yourself. You say, oh, I wish I'd have went to bed earlier. You know, I wish I'd not eaten all that crap or whatever, right? Or I wish I'd done this, and wish I'd focused more on this piece of work or whatever. You can keep yourself accountable. The other way, obviously, is, you know, just to get someone who can help you keep account, but obviously that costs money or whatever. You know, you've got to keep yourself accountable, really. If you're lucky enough to have a coach, then fair enough, you know, you can get one, or a good friend who's going to help you. But ultimately, that's why I like journaling, because you can set intentions in the morning, and you can keep yourself accountable at night. And that's what I would say. Understand it's about consistency. Don't try and do too much in a day, just a little bit of work each day, working towards your goals. And as long as, this is the thing, right? As long as you're going that little bit closer, doesn't matter how big of a chunk. So you might just do, like, even just 20 minutes, half an hour a day, you know, working towards one of your goals. So if you're writing a book or something, you know, just something, put something down, typing on a laptop or whatever. Just something is better than nothing, and that's what you should do. Consistency over time. Focus is a difficult one in terms of staying focused. I think, like, understanding that it's not possible to remain focused for a long period of time. You know, we have attention spans, and I think that's all right. I have lots of little breaks, and when I work on my 3 things a day, this is like, they might be up to 1 hour each, right? And I can actually get my head down for up to an hour, me, and just smash out loads of work, almost like a week's worth or a day's or a week's worth of work in an hour, right? And what I'll do is just commit that super focus, and then I'll have a break. And I'll come outside, I'll do a bit of reading, and then I'll go back in, I'll do another hour, right? Or another half hour or something like that. Smash that out, do it, finish, have a break, go back in and do that again. And that's how you do it. You've got to understand that focus is not possible consistently. This is why the system that I use, 3 things a day, make sure you do them. They're all in separate chunks. They only have to be small amounts of time, but they're very, very intensely focused work. So you're going to work super intense for half an hour on that particular thing. So let's say you had one of your goals, and then one of the things that you have to do for your goals might take you Right, is that better? Thanks for telling me. You know what it is? This is, I've got these like fancy mics, and it was right on the bottom end of the battery, so the sound is going to be a bit shit from now. But I'll charge up this mic. They're quite good actually. These mics, it's a tiny little lavalier there, but they're sort of like really good quality, so apologies for that. Now it's just on the, I'll pull it a bit closer because it's just on the phone, and you've got the built-in mic, and it's kind of garbage quality. But thanks for the tip off. Yep, it's just charging. So yeah, anyway, Samuel, thank you very much for staying on. Really appreciate it. Not really done these live. I've done some lives before if you go on my channel, but they're more with like friends when we do these kind of multiple. All right, okay. Yeah, so I've done the lives before, and they're more like with friends, on multiple topics. But when you do a live video, when you get these kind of split screen lives, and it's like a panel of people, I've done a few of them. What I always find is they're always broadcast across multiple channels, but I always find that because everyone's got their own agenda of things that they want to talk about, it's kind of difficult to keep the topic on point, and you find that the topic gets fragmented across all these different people. So I thought I'd try this type of live, which is basically just one person, because then you don't get this fragmentation of the topic. So hopefully it works. Actually, it's getting bloody freezing out here, but I always try and brave it, Anyway, that is journaling in a nutshell. Honestly, yeah. So that's journaling in a nutshell. The other thing that I always practice is reading, right? And you see, I've done quite a bit of content. I've got some videos on sort of reading skills, because the thing with reading, right, as well as journaling, think about what is a habit, right? I think journaling, creating, so every morning I always, when I do my journal, I always review my goals and then do my journal, right? And then I do some reading, and then I do some sort of training of some form. And reading's a really good skill. So I've done some videos on like
learning to love to read, and also like speed reading and things like this. Something that I'm always trying to do, because um, with anyone that's achieved anything, if you ever look at all these like really famous people, like I don't know, like Warren Buffett and people like this, if you check out what the old journal and the old read, right, I think Warren Buffett reads about something crazy like 6 hours a day or whatever. Uh, he's been famous for that, like just reading. And you can't read, well, I suppose you could read 6 hours a day if you want, but something that um, Jim Rohn used to always say is work more on yourself than you do on your business or you do on your work. And it's almost like all the knowledge is contained in books, right? And the more that you read, I think it just improves your overall skill and your general knowledge and everything that everything you learn. And so you've got to read the right things. And on my website, I've got like a small reading list. andyholt.co.uk. If you go on there, there's in resources there's a reading list, which I put all the books that I like to read there. Right. Oh, well, it's a selection of books that I think are really must reads. So I read a lot every day. I'm not the fastest reader, but again, this is about consistency, because language was never, like I say, when I was studying, I was maths and science and construction and geometry and things like that. That was my thing. It wasn't English language or reading. But I now force my, well, I don't. I love it. I used to force. I had to force myself to read to start with, but I read every day, and I think it's so important. Now I normally read non-fiction, but I decided to read Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it kind of is non-fiction. It's biography, isn't it, of his life? Because this guy has probably achieved more than anyone ever will. Crazy amount what he's achieved and what he's done in his life. So just reading a good story. I read his. I've got a really old biography from years ago called Fantastic of Schwarzenegger. So I read that. So this is just almost like a newer biography. So it includes when he was governor and all the rest of it. So I'm just reading that. But usually I read psychology, whether that's I like reading things like might come across quite bad this, but I like reading things like Machiavellianism. Because I always want to think I want to become a better Machiavel. What do I mean? I don't want to be an evil person. I mean, I want to have better negotiation skills, better communication skills. So I read things like psychology, mindset, communication, sometimes relationship psychology, because I think um, all of these skills. So think about what the best skills to have. Communication skills and relationship skills is super important, because everything in life is about relationships, whether it's in the business world, the personal world. So I always think that having those relationship skills is super important. So I read a lot about human psychology and fitness as well. That's another big area. Yeah. That's great, Samuel. Yeah, it's never a bad thing. The most successful people in life have leveraged principles of Machiavellian psychology. Exactly, right? So, one of the books on my reading list, I could go and get it. So, one of the books on my reading list, one of my favourite books, which hasn't got a good review. If you go on Goodreads, it's got like really shit reviews, but Oliver James the author, is a psychologist, and he wrote a book called Office Politics, and it's quite funny actually. So it's like navigating the corporate world, you know what I mean? Those slippery. I don't know if you ever. I used to work in corporate, and if you've ever worked in a big corporate, international sort of like massive business like that, I worked in a consultancy, so it was like full of these slippery fuckers, you know. Like, and the middle management in these places generally are like they do the dirty work of the bosses, you know what I mean? So what you tend to find in these places is that their only skill in life is to like play the office politics and, you know, do the dirty work of the management and manipulate the way, you know, you pull them out of that environment and stick them standing up on their own 2 feet, like as an entrepreneur. They won't last 5 minutes, you know. Like, so they have to be within that organisation. And Oliver James' book, Office Politics, is a good read because it's all about, you know, it covers the dark triad, like not just Machiavellianism. Obviously, the psychopaths and, you know, the narcissists as well, all that sort of stuff. And it's quite a funny book because basically it titles it almost like read this book to understand how to navigate those type of people, because the idea is you want the skills to either spot it. So a great skill to find is to figure out how to put someone in a box quickly as an archetype, and then suss out what they're about. Because once you understand how people work, like the psychology, you can figure out, you can almost predict the next move and figure out what's going to happen next. Because like what Oliver James was saying, you don't want to get caught out by one of these people if you're in the corporate world. They'll just shaft you, you know. And so it's far better to understand. And there's a few models. Yeah, add that to you. It's called Office Politics. It's only a small book, but it's brilliant. And I read that and I thought, I'm going to read this to become a better Machiavelli, you know, because I want to outsmart these. Basically, they're doing it for evil, and I want to do it for good. If that is such a thing, you want to have better, be able to outsmart and spot all these signs. And if you think about human psychology, one of the best. There's like a few models that you can do if you want to. I'm not saying I'm going to go through life profiling everyone, but you know, you've got attachment styles, right? So if you read the book Attached, which is about more like love attachment styles, like relationship, but I do believe that stuff translates to kind of every walk of life as well. You know what I mean? So if someone's, say, avoidant, they generally tend to be also conflict avoidant, which will enable you to predict how they'll behave in any particular event. You know, if anything happens, you can pretty much predict how they'll behave and then understand why they're behaving that way. The other way is what I did with my coach called disc profiling. If you've ever seen, this is quite used a lot in business. Disc profiling, like, is another way of profiling people. And then you've got things like loads of little, like Myers-Briggs and all these different models. But just being able to spot someone who's sort of playing games or whatever is a really good skill to have. Yeah, so yeah, you need to add it to my list. I think the reviews are coming from people who've realised they've actually incompetent in the real world. Yeah, maybe. It just, that book, that Oliver James book, didn't get a great review, and I don't know why, because I thought it was quite good. There was a lot of stuff in it that was quite funny as well. You know, like there was a guy in there who was talking to, and I don't know if I think they were based on real colleagues. who was like an absolute sort of animal with in his relationships. He'd like get engaged to someone and then start seeing someone else and then getting flip to the other and just like really fuck people over, you know. And there was a bit of that in it. And anyway, you know, it's that. Um, so yeah, I recommend that book. Other books I would recommend. Yeah, The Gap in the Gain's a good one. But I would also strongly. So there's a good book called. You might have seen it. The Body Keeps the Score. That's a good one. By Bessel van der Kolk. He's like a psychologist, psychiatrist. So it's about trauma. That's a good book to read, just because the way he deals with what he explains in there is a lot of you know, like if you've ever gone for any kind of like therapy, what he explains is how therapy works, and he uses like alternative therapies like EMDR, you know, the eye thing, and all these other therapies, including like theatre and acting, to help people. And it's you know, really get through therapy, because traditional therapy is like not traditional therapy, you know, cognitive behavioural therapy, talking therapy doesn't work for everyone. If you're, I think it works more for women and guys, you know, because women like to talk the problems out. Guys, they get through things generally through action, and that's why alternative therapies work better. Have you ever read Ray Dalio's Principles? No. Alistair Campbell's Winners. Those are two books, right? I'll write them down now. Let me just write them down. I'll have a look at them. I'm at the end of this notebook, by the way. Dalio. Principles. Campbell. Winners. Right, I'll have a look. I mean, I've got that many books on. I've got to read. I'll add them to the list. No, I haven't read them. Biggest impact on me in terms of my creating systems for personal success. Right, okay. Yeah. I'll have a look. Yeah. Yeah, I like stuff like that. I mean, I've read a bit on, you know, like things like productivity. Like, I started by reading Tim Ferriss, really, like 4 Hour Work Week. I think it was like more than 15 years ago, or maybe 16 years ago when I read that. And I don't know, you can't take it too literally, some of this stuff, because, you know, sometimes I do actually work 4 hours in a week, but you can't take it too literally. What he means there is just, it's similar to Rob Moore's life leverage. It's about only focusing on, this is why I always do work on the top 3 things a day, because if you think about it, like let's say you're working 8 hours in a day or whatever, you should make sure that you do what are the top 3 things, right? And if you look at any average day, there's probably only about 1 hour of it that's worth anything. You know, the rest of it is just like filling out emails and doing this, making cups of tea or whatever, having meetings for meetings' sake, or you know, if you're on a manual job, whatever. Right? Not a lot of it is actually getting you anywhere in terms of goal achievement. And probably only about an hour of it is, and so the 4 Hour Work Week thing, Tim Ferriss and Rob Moore's life leverage are all about focusing on what are the needle movers, and this is why I do the journal, 3 things a day, that's my intentions, and I make sure I do them. Sometimes you only do 2 of them, sometimes you do 6, you know, whatever, but try and aim at 3. And then it doesn't really matter how long you work, you know. Do you really work 8 hours in a day? I don't think so. I don't think anyone does. You probably do an hour, 2 hours work, 3 hours tops, you know. Now, obviously that's me, you know. Some people maybe have a job where it is actually very demanding, you know, in terms of maybe working like a shift, and they've got to do something, and it is a manual job, and that's it, fine, right? But that's not really working towards your goals. That's just, you know, working for per hour or per shift or whatever, which we have to do, you know, because we need to earn a living. But on top of that, you need to be working towards your goals, and these are them small things, so it's not a lot of work. But yeah, I'll read them. Well, I've added them to my list, but I've got a massive stack of books I've got to read after this one. This one's going to take me a while. Okay, thick that book was. Oh. That'll take me a while. Really small writing as well. Quite a, you know, when you look at something like that, you think, do I want to start that? So it'll take some effort. Literally just started it. So yeah, after I finish this video, I'm going to do a bit of reading if it's not too cold. Get through a few pages. And then yeah, I'm gonna relax tonight. I think actually just playing a bit of cards. So anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm getting freezing. I need the loo and need to do some reading. So I might try this again because I think it's a different one. You don't have to prepare, you can just shoot live anytime. Thank you to all those that have contributed. Thanks, Samuel, for your great, all the messages and everything. Comments, really good. Yeah, no worries. Oh, you stumbled on it. You know, I'm interested to know about that. How you stumbled upon it. Did it just come up? Because I'm not sure how lives work. When you create a YouTube video, you just put it out with a topic, and you know, it sort of serves based on similar what people are looking for. But in terms of these lives, does it just pop up like you're going live? How did you stumble on it? I'd like to know about that. Yeah, on my website, if you just go to my channel or any of my videos. Oh, right, came up on your shorts, right, got you. Ah, that's interesting. Right, so if you go to my any of my videos, in there you'll find like a link to my reading list or anything. It'll just take you to my website. All the videos I've got it on, and yeah, on that website I've got like some handwritten articles, some videos, some of the YouTubes are embedded, and I've got some resources. I've also got, like, if you're into diet or anything, I think health and fitness is just the cornerstone of any achievement. I've got some diet plans on there as well, which are really good. So my own recipes, and there are actually some videos that I'll do some cooking at home. I've got one called the one meal that you can, like, the one meal that you can live off. You could literally eat it 3 or 4 times a day, and it's almost like decent macros, you know. So have a look at that. I've got some resources. I'm going to be adding more, and also the journal is a different website. Also, I've got a buy my journal on my website, but when it's live, it will take you to like another website where you know where it is, and that is goalachievementhub.com, which is not live at the minute just because the products are not live. So I'll be doing that from there, but everything you can get to from my website. Yeah, no worries. Thanks very much, and yeah, thank you everyone. See you all soon. All right, bye bye.